Right now we're going to celebrate Pesach soon, and in the story of Pesach, now in the equivalent time of our life, it's not the right parasha when we come to Pesach. The right parashot of Pesach is Bo and Beshalach, and that was 2 months ago. But if we go back to the parashot of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we have a hero, Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have always the mean hero, and that's Paro. And Paro is, in the story, he was the king. But Paro also represents something in my life that I need to understand and to be aware of. And the holiday of Pesach is not only about matzahs and not only about freedom, is also to be aware of what's the problems in my life. Who was the so to say, the actors in the show. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the Redeemer, but we can't take the focus off Paro. The name Paro is being repeated dozens of times in all these parashot. He's one of the main actors in the scene. He's one of the roles there. So I cannot ignore that. And when the story of Pesach comes to teach me, first there were slaves, and then the whole plagues and the miracles of going out of Mitzrayim. When I'm reading the parasha, when I'm reading the Torah, it's not to tell me a historical fact and not to tell me a story. I have to learn something off it. Now, today what I want to focus on, because this is something very important to prepare for Pesach, is about Paro. And Paro in the story is a king. In the spiritual realm, Paro is the power that disturbs me. Because if you're looking at the word Paro, it has the same letters of hafra'ah. Hafra'ah is something that disturbs me. Disturbance. That's hafra'ah. La'afriya is to disturb. So I can now sit and teach, and somebody will disturb me, will make a noise, or do something, and it will disturb me, it will take me out of my focus. Sometimes people, they don't understand. I ask before a lecture, turn your phones off. Not that I have anything against your phone. The ringing, the disturbance, it gets sometimes the speaker out of his focus. That's why it's nothing personal to the crowd. When I ask not to ask questions, it's not because I don't want to hear the question. It's when I'm talking, I'm on a certain path, a question takes me off, and then it's a disturbance. Now I don't remember where I continued, where I left off. It's not about the question or not. There's nothing wrong with the question. Now, I always like hearing the feedback from the other side. You are the lucky ones, so you're sitting here. You get it live, you enjoy the coffee, you get to ask questions. I'm always trying to get the feedback from the eyes behind the screen. Now imagine now, thousands of people are sitting in their home, they're watching a screen. Some of them are listening to it, some of them are watching it, some of them it's just playing and they're doing whatever they're doing. Some people are focused, and that's their Torah. That 99% of our students are in New Zealand and Brazil and Tennessee and Belgium. They don't have a synagogue, they don't have a place to go learn Torah. They rely on the internet, on YouTube, on whatever it is, and they see the class. Now, I like getting feedback from everybody. Is the class is long? Are they too short? Is the information good? How is the class, in your opinion? The main feedback that I get, I would actually say it's the only feedback that I get from the people from the side of the screen, is the questions are disturbing. Because imagine how somebody listening to the lecture, and suddenly, whoop, I go to a completely different place. And they're like, wait a minute, you went off your course. And not only that, I didn't even hear the question. So the negative feedback that I get, I'm not saying it directly at you. I know you have a lot of questions. I'm just saying, what's the concept of disturbance? Because we have this Paro in our life. So when a speaker is talking on a topic, and there's a disturbance in the crowd, I get very distracted in lectures. And when I go to lectures and there's a lot of kids running around, I get very distracted. And you know, some of you maybe joined us to Shabbat meals. If I'm talking and I say whatever it is at Dvar Torah and the kids are making too much noise, I get totally distracted. And now some people might not pick up on it, but I get not confused, distracted. I'm talking about myself right now. I'm not talking about other people. I know some people, nothing distracts them. But I can tell you that when I talk to other speakers and we, share information, the main problem is distractions. Now, why am I telling you that? Because we have distractions in our life. I'm focused on my life right now. I'm focused on building my relationship. I'm focused on my Avodat Hashem. I'm focusing on my educating my kids. I'm focused in my life. And whoop, comes a distraction. And a distraction in Hebrew is called hafra'ah. Hafra'ah has the same letters of Paro. Paro is this root of distractions in my life. And what is it distracting me? It's distracting me to go out of Mitzrayim. Because the Jews were in Mitzrayim, they were in slavery, they were in exile. And they wanted to go out of exile. And even they had the power of Moshe Rabbeinu, who came to take them out of their exile, and there was a distraction. They did not want them to go out of exile. And what did Paro say when Moshe Rabbeinu came to him? He told him, Hashem told me to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim. Paro says, who's Hashem that I should listen to him? Who is he? I don't want to listen to him. Paro is this power of that wants to distract you. Now Paro also has the letters Oref. Oref is the back of the neck. You know how they say about the Jews, they're Am Kshei Oref, stiff neck people. Now this is saying in a negative way. It's very good to be stubborn on something positive, but to be stubborn on something negative, it's not good. And we have a problem that we have a stiff neck, that we're stubborn on something negative. So it's not that I'm stubborn. The Paro in my life is the power that stops me from having a very good flow. Now, if you're looking at Paro, what did he did not allow the Jews to do? He did not allow them to go out of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, again, if you go now 600 kilometers south, you'll find a country named Mitzrayim. But Mitzrayim is a state that the person is in, because Mitzrayim comes from the word Meitzar. Meitzar is a limit, something that limits me, and if I'm in a state of limitation, then I'm in Mitzrayim. And my Mitzrayim can be something as simple as you said, a bunch of kids making noise, and they're limiting you right now to make the right decision. The right decision, like you said, was to stop. The distraction, these kids were distracting you. To think if to make a stop or not. So they right now were serving as the Paro. I know now whoever walked in now, or the viewers, they don't understand what I'm talking about with his kids right now. You understand what I'm talking about, but that's a Paro. Paro is a hafra'ah, a disturbance. Something comes into my life and it serves as something that disturbs me. Why? Because I have a certain limit, something that limits me, a Mitzrayim, and I need to go out of my limitation right now. And Paro doesn't want me to go out of Mitzrayim, so he puts a disturbance, something that will disturb me. I'm now set to learn, and something will pop up to get me out of my order of my learning, to disturb me from my seder, from my order. Now, what did Paro was prohibiting and distracting the Jews to go out from? Going out from Mitzrayim. If you look at the word Mitzrayim, separate the letters, and you would read it as Meitzar, Yam. Meitzar is something that limits, and Yam is an ocean. But Yam also has the numerical value of 50. Yud is a 10, and Mem is a 40. The numerical value of 50, this is what's called Sha'ar Hanun, the 50th gate. If you remember when Moshe Rabbeinu died, he reached the gate, the 50th gate, and then he was able to die. Sha'ar Hanun is where we get all this godly revelation, what's called hashpa'ah, an energy that comes from above. That's where I get it from. And this Paro is what cuts it. Because I'm constantly getting what's called shefa. Shefa is an abundance. Hashem is constantly throwing an abundance on me. You might now look at me and say, I don't even know what abundance you're talking about, because my bank account is dried out, and my fridge is dried out, and my mind is no abundance there. What abundance are you talking about? The Hashem is, Kadosh Baruch Hu throws an abundance on me. This is called Shefa. Now, where does it go through? It goes through a certain gate. This gate is called Sha'ar Anun. Now, if I, chas v'shalom, get distracted from what I need to do, then the Shefa is not going to come down. Who does this distraction is Paro. Now, Meitzar is something that is not only narrow, it's something that limits. Many times in many of my lectures I explain to you that our body shows in the spiritual level the structure of my soul. So in my mind, I have here in this head like a balloon, and in this balloon there's my brain, and this is called mochin, my intellect. And then I have this lumpy body, and in my lumpy body there's a heart, and in the heart is my attributes, my midot. But the connection between this balloon and this balloon, there's a little stick, this little neck, that now try to take something so big and put it through something so small. It's like these little kids that they try to put their head in between bars. They can't. I mean, their eyes, in their limited mind, they see that the bars are not so thick. I mean, they're not so close to each other. And they try to put the head in. Try to take something big like the head and to move it into the body. You can't, because the neck is very narrow. So technically, you cannot do that. It has to somehow get contracted and follow into the midot. That's the problem with most people, is that in my intellect I understand everything. But it doesn't penetrate into my midot, because the meitzar, the limitation is very narrow. And theoretically, what you would do is you would take a funnel, and you know how sometimes you want to pour something from one place to another, you use this funnel and you pour it in and it goes in. Not a funnel, I think it has a different name. A funnel? So I need to create this funnel from my intellect into my midot. Because if you're looking by size, this is too wide. It's not going to penetrate in here. I have to do what's called a tzimtzum. I have to contract my mochin in order to be able to let it flow through this funnel into my midot and start affecting me. Because what I understand in my mind, 99% of the time doesn't penetrate into my heart. I can understand in my mind right now that this food is not healthy, and I would still eat it because my heart wants to eat it. Or a smoker understands that cigarettes are bad for him, he still wants to smoke because in his heart he has a desire, he has this addiction. So I need to be able to bring what's in my mochin into my heart. What stops it? A very thin neck. This is called meitzar. So in the word meitzar, Mitzrayim, I have a meitzar, something that limits, something that becomes narrow. What is it narrowing? It's narrowing the yam, the water, the Sha'ar Anun. So I'm the one who's narrowing the path for all this shefa, this abundance to come to me. How? By letting Paro distract me. How does he distract me? He takes me away from my focus. This is the job of Paro in my life. Now, if I don't let him take me off my focus, then this abundance that I'm getting from Hashem will go through this. This is not going to become a meitzar anymore. Sha'ar Anun is going to be wide and open. This gate is going to be wide open, and this abundance is just going to flow. My problem is that Paro, same way, what I told you before, is the same letters as Oref. Oref is the back of my neck. The back of my neck is usually much thinner than my throat. My throat, the front part of the neck, is much wider. The Oref, the back of my neck is thin. Paro is the klipa that comes and grabs me from behind and makes the situation that whatever's in the intellect will not go down to my midot. This is the hafra, the disturbance. Now, I need to learn from it. How do I get away from this distraction? There's an interesting way of reading the word Mitzrayim. You can also switch the letters and read it as Tsar, Maim. Tsar is narrow, and Maim is water. There's the opposite of Mitzrayim. There's another country that we learn a lot from its name, is the country France. I mean, in English that has no meanings, but in Hebrew it's called Tzarfat. And there's a meaning for every word in Hebrew. Bezrat Hashem, we'll do a class about what's the meaning of Tzarfat, because Tzarfat has the same letters of Paratzta, is to go outwards. Or Faratzta, ma Faratzta la Chaperetz, or Faratzta Yama Vakedma, that you basically break all barriers and you go out. But Tzarfat is the other way around, that actually limits you. And there is a concept in the teachings of Chassidut about the word Tzarfat, and you can read it as Tsar, as narrow, and Pat. Pat is what I eat, is what I consume. Mitzrayim is Tsar Maim, is narrow in regards to the water, and that the Tzarfat is the narrow in the Pat, is what I eat. This is a little bit off the subject, but Bezrat Hashem, we will talk about that. The point is that the Tsar means to make something narrow. I have a lot of problems in my life because instead of me widening something, I make it narrow. When something is narrow, it's much harder to go through. This is called Meitzar. Now, the Ari HaKadosh explains that Paro is the power that sucks away the Kedusha, the holiness, from Bnei Israel. Now, we have to understand that in our generation we also have a Paro. It's now in a spiritual level. It's not a physical Paro. We don't have a king that is ruling us. But in the spiritual level, I have a Paro. Paro is the one who comes and does a disturbance. But Paro is a very sophisticated king. He allows me, to do mitzvot. Why? Because my mitzvot will pull on me shefa, an abundance, but he sucks it away from me. And that's what Paro used to do. He used to take the energy of the Jews and take it for himself. And he used to make them build things for him. That was part of the form of the slavery, that they built for him cities. He didn't stop make them work. He made them build for him cities. This is the Paro, my spiritual Paro, that he sucks away my Kedusha for his own benefit. So, first of all, Paro comes to disturb me. And the disturbance is going to come in any situation in my life that will take me off my focus. In the previous class, we talked about how to stay focused on Hashem. Paro is the one who comes and takes me off the focus. Like this attraction on the side road, on the highway, that gets my attention off. How does Paro get my attention? With negative things, not with positive things. He's not going to come and give me something positive in my life. He's going to give me a distraction. So my mind will be distracted right now instead of my focus. But at the same time, the Paro is the one who will allow me to do mitzvot. There's a certain tzaddik, he's known as Levi Yitzchak from Bardichov, and he was one of the disciples of the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid from Mazrich, and he said that the Sitra Acha, this Paro, he is the one who's sponsoring building yeshivas and through shuls. Because he wants us to build a shul. Why? He doesn't care if I pray right now. He wants me to talk what's called sichat cholin, a mundane conversation in the shul. Because that is not allowed. It's a holy place. I'm not allowed to talk about a mundane conversation. He says, sit in the shul, pray shacharit, with your tefillin on, start talking about business with your friend. Or start gossiping with your friend. So Levi Yitzchak von Berditchev used to say, the Samech Mem, this Paro, will sponsor the building of the shul. Because he wants you to fail in the mitzvah, to be involved in the mitzvah, but to fail in it. So this Paro is a distraction. He allows me here and there to do mitzvot. He says, yeah, do some mitzvot. Pretend that you're religious. And why? Because I want you to manufacture some shefa, some abundance, so I can take it. And that's another part of the distractions that Paro comes into my life. He makes me become observant, but he wants some part of it. And how does he get it? When he distracts me. If I'm not distracted and I'm focused on what I'm doing, then this shefa, this abundance stays with me. If he gets me distracted, then I give over my abundance to him. And that's where I can come and complain, wait a minute, I don't know what abundance you're talking about. I don't have anything. That's why you see that our enemies are wealthy, and they're happy, and they're healthy, and everything. Why? They're taking all this shefa away from me. I'm producing it, and like the Italian mob, they're taking it. I just threw an Italian mob. Can be the Russian mob. Can be any mob that you want. The mob is basically feeding off your money. They come and tell you, we'll pretend to protect you, but give us off your money. So the thing is that if I don't have protection on the shefa, on this abundance, then I'm giving it right to the klipa, right away. That's the problem, that right now I'm manufacturing a lot of energy, but it's directed to the wrong way. Instead of me keeping it, I'm giving it right away to the klipa. Not that it's going to waste. A lot of people interpret it by saying, okay, the power of the mitzvah or the merit of the mitzvah is gone to waste. It's not, it's yours. It's going to be yours. Very soon when Mashiach is going to come and the klipa is going to be uprooted and the power of impurity will be annulled, then this mitzvah is going to go back to you. You can get that back to you if you do tshuva. But if I'm now producing energy and directing into the klipa, right now I'm not benefiting from it. And why am I not benefiting from it? Because I'm losing this abundance. How am I losing this abundance? Is because the openings, so to say, or should I say the gates of my body are open. So I can have now a cup. I don't know if you noticed. This cup has a little hole. Did you notice? Look at the table. There's coffee on it. This, I don't know if you can see from there. This cup has a hole in it. So looking now at my table, there's coffee in it. Now this is a very small hole. There's only a few drops of coffee. What if this cup had a big hole? Then all the coffee will go out. Remember I told you a few weeks ago, if you notice on Shabbat, we have here all the hot water, the urns. That's how you say, urn. So one Friday, Baruch Hashem, every Friday we have a lot of guests. I help preparing everything. It's a big mitzvah. It's very easy for me to tell somebody else, you go and prepare it. I want to be involved in it, like our sages. They used to be involved in preparing for the mitzvah of Shabbat. So I was cleaning all the urns and filling them up with water. So I fill one up in the other room, and I open the tap, and I go in the meantime do other things. I'm coming back after a few minutes. What's going on? A little bit of water in there. I go out again, I do more things, come back after a few minutes, a little bit more. And every 5 minutes I go, and I'm like, what's going on with this urn? It's not getting full up. After 20 minutes of water going in there, and every time it's just going up 1 centimeter, another centimeter, I'm like, what's going on in my mind? Am I losing my mind? So I look in the front and I see that black knob that where the water comes out from, it was open and all the water was going out. So the same amount of water that came in, the same amount of water came out. That's it. And I was just left with a little bit. It was just going higher and higher in millimeters. So if I have a vessel and I start damaging my vessel and all this shefa, this abundance is going out, then I'm basically taking all this unbelievable blessing that I get from Hashem and I'm giving it to the klipa. Very simple. Why does that happen? Because my gates are opened. And I have to find out which gate of my system is open. Now, in most cases, what will cause this shefa, this abundance to go away? It comes from two midot that I do what's called a pgam. I make a blemish, so to say. And these are the two lowest midot in the sfirot. One of them is called Sfirat HaYesod, and the other one is called Sfirat HaMalchut. These are the two sfirot, the two midot, the two attributes that we easily make a blemish in them. Men usually blemish the Sfirah of the Yesod much easier by them doing certain acts that will blemish the Sfirah, the midah of the Yesod. When a man, chas v'shalom, is having forbidden relations, or when he does all sorts of other different kind of acts, he's damaging this midah, this Sfirah. On the other hand, women, they don't necessarily damage this midah. Women, for example, they damage the midah, the Sfirah of Malchut, and that's with their mouth. Mainly with lashon hara and gossiping and lying and slandering and all this. These are the two midot, the two sfirot that we damage. either the Sfira of the Yesod or either the Sfira of Malchut. Anything that has to do with my mouth is the Sfira of Malchut. If you read Patach Eliyahu, it's part of the Tikkunei Zohar. A lot of people have the custom of reading it on Erev Shabbat, and you'll see that he explains there that the Malchut Peh, Torah Shebe'al Peh, which means that Malchut is my mouth. What I talk, that has corresponding to the Sfira of Malchut. If I damage this Sfira by cursing and slandering and Lashon Hara and lying and cheating and all these things that I do with my mouth, then I damage this Sfira. Which means that in this gate, there's air coming out. How you say in Hebrew, pancher. It's poked. When I damage these two gates, all the shefa that will come to me goes out. How much will stay in, depending how big the holes are. In this cup, you see a little hole. So only drops of coffee coming out. This is a small blemish. So just a little bit is coming out. The rest is still here. If there's a lot of holes, then a lot will come out and all my shefa goes away. This is only because I have a pgam in my gates. In most cases, these are the two sfirot that I damage, the sfira of Yesod and sfira of Malchut. We don't damage other sfirot. Sometimes yes. But what happens is that all the shefa that I get from above, that is coming through my mochin, first of all, the shefa comes through the sfira of Keter. There it comes, no problem. They will go through all the sfirot, but when it reaches the bottom ones, which is the Yesod is the foundation, and if that is damaged, it will go into the sfira of Malchut, the basin that is holding everything. Then if that is damaged, all my abundance go away. And how is that going to happen? Like I told you, this is one out of many, but women tend to damage more the sfira of Malchut, and men tend to damage more the sfira of Yesod. That's the type of a problem that we have. Now, who's the one who's going to be the one who's distracting me from all this? This is my Paro. And Paro is not only a little king that is sitting in the story of Mitzrayim. I have a Paro that is in me, that is not allowing me to go out of my Mitzrayim, out of my Egypt. When I'm celebrating in 2.5 weeks Pesach, it's not about the matzahs, it's not about many other things. Yes, I have to consider on the matzah. It's a very, very big mitzvah. It's actually a mitzvah from the Torah that I have to eat matzah. And I have to eat a lot of it. And the more you eat matzot on Pesach, the matzah has a very powerful thing. We're going to learn about that too. That matzah is the bread of faith and the bread of healing. In the diaspora, then they celebrate 2 nights of Pesach. The first night when they eat the matzah, it's the bread of faith. The second night when they eat the matzah is the bread of healing. I told you the story that I heard once with the Lubavitcher Rebbe and the person with a kid. If you want, I'll repeat it again. But that the Lubavitcher Rebbe told this individual, he gave him 2 pieces of matzah and he told him, this is for the healing of your daughter, this is for your faith that you don't have. In Israel, we're lucky, we only have 1 night. It's combined together. But we will learn about the power of all these little mitzvot that we do on Pesach, not for now. The point that I want to understand and to get ready is that I'm stuck in Mitzrayim right now. Believe it or not, I am. We're all stuck in our Egypt. But in 2.5 weeks, I have an opportunity to go out of my Mitzrayim, out of my limitation. I have the opportunity to take Paro and to make him drown in the water. That's where he ended up, in the water. Although the Midrash explains that he was able to be washed to the shore and he survived, he did tshuva. That's what I want to do. I want to take the Paro in me and not to kill him. I want to transform him. I want him to do tshuva. But I have to concentrate on what is causing my disturbance in my Avodat Hashem. What is my Paro? Paro is hafra'ah. It comes to disturb me. I have to make now a very good analogy. What is disturbing me from waking up in the morning to go and pray? Oh, Facebook is disturbing me because it keeps me up till 2 o'clock in the morning. And what is disturbing me right now from saying Birkat Hamazon? This and this is disturbing me. Something is disturbing me in my Avodat Hashem. And I have to be very honest and I have to be very truthful, and then I will be able to point on what's my Paro. And when I'm able to analyze what's Paro, then in my Yetziat Mitzrayim, in my going out of Egypt in 2.5 weeks, I will be able to drown Paro in the water. If you remember, the first day of Pesach, it's when we left Mitzrayim. The Achron Shel Pesach, the last day of Pesach, is when they crossed the sea. So So I have a whole week that I'm building up. I'm building up my emunah, because to cross the water I have to have emunah. I have to have belief. You remember the story. They came to the water, they didn't know what to do. They needed belief. There was only one person that had a lot of emunah, Nachshon ben Aminadav. He jumped into the water opened. So I have a whole week during Pesach to build this emunah. How do I do it? I will by eating matzah. As weird as it sounds, that a piece of cracker is going to penetrate the vault of my soul, to open it up and to take my belief out, yeah, that's what happens. It seems to us irrelevant, it seems to us weird that a piece of flat cracker is going to change my reality. But that is the reality. It's spiritual. It's a spiritual food. It's a spiritual nutrition. When I consume this matzah and I do it the right way, we're going to learn a lot of the halachot. I have to eat a certain measurement of it. I have to eat it in a certain amount of time. I have to eat it before chatzot. There are many rules to it. Bezrat Hashem, I don't know if you're going to be joining us for Pesach. You'll see, we're not playing around and running after the chicken. There's an order, what we do. That's how it's called seder. You make order. You follow all these rituals. These rituals are not to make my life hard or not to do anything else, but to make order in my life. Because if you notice, the ceremony we do in Pesach, we call it seder. Seder Pesach. Seder is order. I need to make order in my life, because my life is a mess. And I need to make order in my life and put things in the right place. And I have to take Paro and to drown him in the water. So what I need to do now before Pesach is to realize and to point what is disturbing my life right now in Avodat Hashem. And there must be some type of a leak in my vessel if I don't feel an abundance. If I feel an abundance, that's pretty good. It also depends how much of the abundance. I need to be very aware that could very much be that a lot of my abundance is actually going to waste. Because a lot of people say, Baruch Hashem, I have a beautiful home, I have a wife or a husband, I have kids, I have parnassah, I have time to learn Torah. I have people that come and tell me, yeah, here and there I have some challenges. But in general, things look pretty good. And they're saying that because they want a discount not to do certain things. And my answer is just imagine how much more it can get, how much more better it can get if you have the entire package. But really I need to know that I have an abundance that is coming from above, and I need to know how to hold it. I need to know how to keep it in my domain. And there must be some type of, if I feel that I'm lacking some abundance, it means that my vessel has some holes. I need to make a very, very thorough analogy in the next 2 weeks. Who is my Paro? He's part of the figures in the story. I have a Moshe Rabbeinu, I have me, I'm the Jew, but there's also a Paro. I cannot ignore Paro. He's in the parashot, he's in the story, he gets a lot of time. There's a lot of times we mention the name Paro, because in my life there's a Paro. And if I ignore him, that's where he gets under my skin. That's where he takes me off my focus. That he comes to do exactly what his name is. Just remember constantly the word hafra'ah, disturbance, coming to disturb me. When something is coming to disturb me, if I'm sleeping now, or if I'm very tired and the kids are making noise outside, they're disturbing me. They're disturbing me from focusing right now on my sleep. So there is a Paro that is disturbing me from Avodat Hashem. He's going to come with financial problems, he's going to come with emotional problems, with physical problems, he's going to come with all sorts of ways to disturb me. I'm going to come to learn in Torah, the phone is going to ring, come home, emergency. All sorts of things, because he doesn't want me to be focused on what I'm doing. I have to now, when I'm cleaning the home, preparing for Pesach is not just scrubbing the floor, that's very important, but as I'm scrubbing the floor, I have to see what is making me going out of my path. Once you do that and you analyze that, then we're going to go to the next stage, which we're going to learn about also, is how am I making seder in my life. Seder is order. I need to make order in my life. When everything is chaos, I can function. The house is a mess, nothing is in order, everything is upside down, I can function. We need order in our life. When my kids are in school, they have order in their life. When they're on summer vacation, they're out of control because there's no order. So comes Pesach and it says, listen, we're not going to call it a barbecue. We're not going to call it a meal. We're not going to call it a party. We're going to call it a seder. We're making order now. Now it's the time to make order for the rest of the year. How? By taking Paro and making him drown, and I don't want him to be part of my life. So that's what I need to do now in the next 2-3 weeks when I'm preparing for Pesach. I need to make order in my life. I need to find the distractions and the disturbances. And then we'll go to the next step, Bezrat Hashem, how we're taking this Paro and drowning him into the water and taking him out of his existence. And he's always going to be there. I just need to know how to make him do tshuva, how to make him work for me and disturb the Yetzer Hara. Paro is not my Yetzer Hara, by the way. It's a whole different thing. I need him to disturb the Yetzer Hara right now, not me. So Bezrat Hashem should have a very easy and clear preparation. Should take what I told you now and really apply it. And Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to have this Pesach in Bet HaMikdash, have the real Korban Pesach, and able to sacrifice it. And it's all about us. We have to go out of our own exile. Bezrat Hashem, Hashem should bless you with great success.